Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. Coming up, our new arts correspondent Nicola Masdam visits Grimsby's Caxton Theatre to find out what happens behind the scenes. We have another dog looking for a home, and we'll be exploring Scotland's heritage and its influence on the rest of us as Dr. Nick Evans, a lecturer in history, joins me in the studio. Welcome to Estuary News. I'm Hugh Richards. Time now for the news headlines.
Beverley Gate has been given protection by the Department for Culture, Media and Sport on the advice of Historic England. The iconic landmark marks a spot where King Charles I was refused entry into the city of Hull in 1642, leading to the outbreak of the English Civil War. Our City Council has worked with Historic England to achieve the site's designation as a national monument, and following an extensive public consultation, it will now be not covered over. Things look bright for Grimsby when it comes to employment opportunities. That's according to the town's job centre. It comes as figures reveal that unemployment has fallen by 14% in 12 months. Operations manager Dave Walkington tells us which sectors will see an increase in the number of jobs on offer.
What we're looking at now will be the hospitality sort of sectors. We're doing some work there with some local employers, such as your seasonal people, such as your Pleasure Islands, Thorpe Park, so we'll be getting ready for the new season. There's some retail coming up, the Laceby bypass area where the old Little Chef used to be. They're going to be opening up like a shop there with a few outlets. So that's going to generate things as well. So looking ahead, hopefully it paints a positive picture into the new year.
National School League tables published today have revealed a mixed bag of results for North East Lincolnshire. Statistics for the Department of Education show that just 4 schools saw an increase in the number of pupils, achieving 5 GCSEs at A star to C, including maths and English, compared to last year, with 48% of pupils in secondary academies across the authority not achieving the standard. The number of recorded crimes in North East Lincolnshire has increased. It mirrors the national trend of +7%. That's according to the Office of National Statistics for the 12 months to September last year. In Hull, North Lincolnshire and the East Riding of Yorkshire, total crime was down year on year. And police are continuing to make inquiries into the death of a man believed to be in his 30s who was found in derelict premises on Clyde Street in Hull on Wednesday. And that is the latest from the news.
The curtain is about to go up on Grimsby's Caxton Theatre's latest production, and we sent our arts reporter Nicola Masdam to track down the budding performers.
I'm here at the Caxtons, the only group in the area to have their own theatre. They've got their open night tonight, and I'm really keen to see what it's all about. So can you tell me what your role here is at the Caxtons?
Well, at the moment, most immediately, my role at the Caxtons is to be a director. I'm actually directing a play that starts in April. It's A Midsummer Night's Dream.
And do you have any other roles here?
My other roles in Caxtons have been many, actually. I've been the secretary. I've been the membership secretary. I help out with duties because we need lots of people to run this theatre. I do the bar, I do teas, I've done front of house, I have done box office. And I also help with the social nights. We have one a month, to which anybody's welcome. You don't need to be a member.
Here at Caxtons, my role is youth theatre leader.
And you've got a newly reformed youth group here. Can you tell me why you thought it was important to reform the group and start again?
It was running a couple of years ago, and unfortunately people left, they got older, they went to uni, so it disbanded. And when I found out that it disbanded, I was quite upset actually. I used to come here as a younger person myself, and I really enjoyed the youth theatre, and I think it's important for people to come and have fun and build their confidence and just generally work with one another and meet new people.
So is it just you two that help build the sets, or is there anyone else that helps?
Generally speaking, it's a director's job to get the cast, to get a set of builders together They could be the cast itself, but we built most of the sets last year, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we did four or five plays.
Four or five out of the 7 plays. But we do. Everybody volunteers. The cast volunteer, and it's a bit of a team effort, really.
Because it's going to be painted and dressed, which we usually pass to the ladies
Yes.
who have eyes for colours.
We don't do colours.
We don't do colours.
No.
You buy it,
Yeah.
we'll slap it on.
Hammers and nails and screws.
Yes.
We don't do colours.
And if you have any news or sports stories for us, or you'd like to appear on our news sofa, the sofa of news, you can get in touch with us by emailing news@estuary.tv or by calling us on 01472 35553. My guest tonight is historian Dr. Nick Evans, here to tell us about a talk or an event that you're organising concerning the influence of Scotland over the rest of us.
Exactly. Well, our region has a very strong and noble history connected with Scotland. It was an important staging post between London and Scotland when it was a separate kingdom. And now at the end of the month, we're going to be having an event at the University of Hull celebrating that strong history of the Scots in England.
Just let's identify that event first of all. Where and when will that be, and who can come along?
Sure, there is a free event for members of the public. If they're interested in Scotland's involvement in England, then you're welcome to come along. It's at the University of Hull's Wilberforce Institute in Hull City Centre, and it's on Saturday the 30th of January, and it's free to attend between 9 and 5 p.m.
And for details, people can go onto, is there a Wilberforce Institute website or something like that? They can get the details.
Yeah, or just use Google and put Scots in England at Hull.
OK, lovely. Thank you very much. You said it was a long and noble history. Now, I know enough about history to know that there's no such thing as a noble history without being accompanied by a bit of an ignoble history as well.
Exactly. Well, I'm not sure whether our regional connections are more noble or not, but certainly there is a very strong connection between the Humber Estuary, Grimsby, Hull, and the surrounding hinterlands and Scotland. Particularly, its origins, Hull's connections, lay very much with Hull being an arsenal to fight the marauding Scots, and then later on, as peace between both nations was cemented through royal union, there was a trading connection between Scotland and our ports, particularly to do with fish, herring lasses, and the strong connections seaborne between the region and the north.
That's the North Sea, as it were, being a highway going straight down from the east coast ports of the Edinburgh, Aberdeen, and other places like that, straight down to the Humber.
Yeah, all the way up from Orkney and in the north down to London in the south. Scots really saw the Humber as really a staging post and a stopping off point between these two, the capital in the north and the capital in the south. And Hull was a very important trading point and later on a settlement point.
You said it was an arsenal and a bastion against Scottish marauding invaders, of course. But then there was peace when the kingdoms were reunited. If the kingdoms had the year before last been disunited again, do you think we could be defensible?
I think we could be defensible, very much so. But the Scots are very proud of certainly northern Britain, and they include the Humber area very much in that.
Scots have been disproportionately influential all over the world, possibly because they've been so keen to leave Scotland, and in some ways for economic reasons, quite apart from the climate, I would imagine. G.M. Trevelyan, great historian G.M. Trevelyan, wrote the Short History of the English, and he he talks about the Scottish Reformation creating this atmosphere of literacy. He described the lowland Scots as the best educated peasantry in Christendom, which has a magnificently condescending tone to it. But is that true, that Scottish intellectualism has been a big influence on the rest of Great Britain?
Scottish intellectualism played a vital role on defining our Protestant, our ecclesiastical and political development. But crucially, that literacy that you referred to, that greater literacy in Scotland, gave a great advantage as new commercial opportunities overseas and within mainland Britain arose. And very much the Scots capitalised on their greater literacy levels. They had a greater number of schools, a greater number of universities before, when England only had Oxford and Cambridge. Of course, Scotland had a far greater number of universities.
Not only a greater number of universities, but much, much better universities as well, especially the University of St Andrews, which is still the finest in the world.
That's, of course, very subjective.
In my belief. But the Scots weren't always quite so noble. There was a terrible disproportionate influence of Scots on the slave trade as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, our region is very proud of its connections with anti-slavery, but Scotland very much had a great role, a disproportionate role in slavery overseas, and very much this has been revealed by my colleague Sir Tom Devine and others recently. But locally, if people are familiar with Hull city centre, the Georgian houses were built by a Scottish tar importer, and that was tar derived by slave-grown labour in America. So our region is both connected with freedom messages, but also the Scottish slavery. So it's tarnished with this Scottish slave connection, even if people were not aware of it.
OK, Nick, we'll come back and talk a little bit more about the much more modern history and the influence of Scotland on the Lincolnshire and Yorkshire coasts as well. But just very quickly remind us, when's the talk going to be?
Saturday the 30th of January in Hull City Centre at the Wilberforce Institute.
Lovely. Nick, please don't go away. We'll come and talk about that a little bit more in a moment. Stay with us, please, until after the break, when we will be looking at another lovable dog looking for a home, and we'll be taking another look ahead to Sunday's Hull Derby.
I want to see Grimsby put on the map.
Extraordinary qualities, unmatched in anywhere else in Britain.
We need to act with one voice.
I was absolutely shocked, I'll tell you the truth.
More police officer hours spent on patrol preventing crimes from happening.
Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Coming up, Erica brings you the latest sports news. And could you give a dog a home? We have our weekly Dog of the Week feature. Still with me, Dr. Nick Evans, talking about the Scots and their influence locally over us, but over England generally as well.
Yeah.
Early 20th century, First World War, there was the great Scots fighting spirit was present here.
Yeah, exactly. The Scots are always known as a martial race, and during the First World War, when local lads, local chums, regiments went off to fight, the Scots played a vital role in defending the home front. And so from November 1914, Scottish soldiers with pipes and all arrived to defend the East Coast through Grimsby. And between November 1914 and when they went off to fight in Gallipoli in the August the following year, they defended the East Coast line and particularly played a crucial role in the home front defence during the First World War. And so much of it's forgotten because of wartime censorship. So unfortunately, it's a story we'll talk about at the event that we're hosting, where the Scots' involvement in the First World War really is neglected, particularly here in England.
The Scots, we talked about the literacy and the intellectualism, the great 18th century Enlightenment. David Hume is one of the great heroes of civilization, really, and of thought. But the Scots have a sort of a tendency to nationalism. That there's a cultural suspicion that maybe they've been victimised by the English, whereas in fact, you must tell me as a historian, the Scots have really just taken over not just Britain but the British Empire. All the dynamism, all the initiative, so much of the creativity was a Scottish achievement.
Yeah, anywhere you go in the world, you will find a Scot or Scots descent person. There are 43 Aberdeens in the world, and these naming patterns really celebrate the fact that so many Scots went abroad and are so proud of their nation, their national history, and want to remember it. And the Scots played a huge role and continue to play an enormous role in British politics as well as further
Well, the
afield.
referendum the other year, that there were 45% of them wanted to separate from the United Kingdom. Another quotation, the great Scottish writer, modern Scottish writer, Alistair Gray, said that the only reason the Scots hate the English is because the English can't be bothered to hate them back. We don't really mind. Perhaps we're a bit too dismissive.
I think particularly here in Northern Britain, we're very proud of both sides, the London connection and Scotland, but we can empathise very much with the Scots about being excluded from southern funding.
In this area?
In our area, because this is very much what Scotland suffers as we do.
Nick, thank you very much for that. That'll be a tremendously insightful event, and I very much look forward to it. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Now, let's get back to the Caxton Theatre, where Nicola Masdam is treading the boards for Estuary.
So I'm just going to join the tour here at the Caxtons and see what they've got to offer. So we're here on the set of the Caxtons' latest play, Barefoot in the Park. What are your roles?
I play Paul Bretter. He's an American lawyer, and obviously this is our apartment. We've just moved into the apartment.
Yep, I'm play Corey Bretter. and we're newlyweds of 6 days.
Yeah.
And it starts off with our first day in our new apartment, and you've just come back from work. And it's about our life in this new flat with my mother and our crazy neighbours and the antics that happen. And it's quite a comedy, and yet it's a very family-orientated play.
And is this the first play for both of you?
This is my first upstage play. I've done some smaller things, but yeah, this is my first one on a big audience like this, so yeah.
I've done a few plays with the Caxtons, and I've done plays elsewhere, but this is the first one with an American accent.
Barefoot in the Park. When is it starting, and how long is it running for?
Running on the 23rd
to
the 30th of January.
Yeah.
That's not including the Sunday, and it starts at 7:30. Please buy tickets.
Yeah, definitely.
It is a great play, directed by a beautiful Brian Blakey over there.
So we're in the ladies' dressing room, and they've got all the costumes out ready for Barefoot in the Park, and I've been having a little nose through. There's some rather wonderful house coats that suit me, and this particular number I think is rather lovely. Maybe it goes with this, who knows? But I think my absolute favourite is this coat. It's a bit scratchy, but it's snowing outside, so I might even take that. It reminds me a bit of Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, to be fair, but I've just seen a rather wonderful wig as well. Not quite sure who's going to wear that in the play, but it's very fetching, really. But what fun we could have back here. It's really great. And there's some more over here. There's like a Marilyn Monroe-esque dress. It's very tiny. I don't know who's going to wear that. But there are an awful lot of costumes, and if these are just for one play, there's going to be a lot of costume changes. But there's another rather nice fur coat. That's nice. But I think it's going to look great. Fabulous. Can I put one on?
Do it.
I must wear this one. Shh. Don't no one come in. Oh, that's very nice. It's very warm. No one will know if I sneak out with it. Does it go with what I'm wearing? Shh. Going. So that's the end of my backstage tour at the Caxtons. I've had a great time, met lots of great people, seen how it all works. It's been really interesting, and I hope it's been a great night for the Caxtons as well, and they get some new people to come in and join them. And if you'd like to get us to come and film at your theatre, just give us a call. But for now, I've found this comfy sofa. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to have a nap because I'm really tired. See you again soon. Good night.
And now it's time for our Dog of the Week.
Dog number 135 is a Jack Russell bitch, very young, wire-haired. She was actually found tied up to a lamppost, so she's looking for a new break.
Sunday sees Cull FC and Cull KR renew rivalries in a pre-season instalment of the Clive Sullivan Trophy. The KC Stadium will play host to the first game of the year. Dan Kemp's been along to both sides of the divide to find out how preparations are going.
Hull Kingston Rovers come into the game after losing 38-6 in a one-sided clash with Huddersfield last time out. Their coach Chris Chester knows they need to improve.
I think it was a massive reality check for everybody, staff included. We'll put it down to the first game of the season. So yeah, it's all about reaction this week. We're not going to gloss over, the result. It wasn't, it wasn't good enough, and there's certain areas that we need to be better at this week.
And it'll be the first derby day for new boy Ian Thornley, but he's no stranger to the big occasion.
I'm just going to take it as obviously a derby game that I've played in back home. Obviously, when I played against Saints for Wigan, they've been tough games, and I'm just going to treat it just like that. So if it's going to be anything like that, and I always hear it is, and it's a nice fiery game, we have to make sure we're fired up and ready for it.
Across the river, and a whole different start to pre-season last weekend, FC lined themselves a much gentler start to the new year with a 46-12 win at third-tier Doncaster.
Look, it's going to be a an all-out affair. I think the fact that they've had it handed to them last week, I suppose, against Huddersfield was just guarantees us how physical they're going to be at that weekend. And from preparation, that's exactly what we want.
Hull FC have recruited strongly this season, and nowhere is that more evident with the signing of former New Zealand international Frank "The Tank" Pritchard.
It's a big rivalry between the two, but my main focus is doing what's right for the team. Can't lose focus, on what the rivalry is between the clubs. Just want to win the game and play consistent footy. Yeah.
They've got one opportunity to showcase what they can do, I suppose, the boys this weekend, and hopefully they'll take that opportunity.
Black and white and red and white collide this Sunday at the KC Stadium.
Time now for the latest sports news.
Hull City's Isaac Hayden says he's open to a permanent move to the KC Stadium. The midfielder on loan from Arsenal had been linked with a move to Saturday's opponents before getting a run of games in recent weeks. And he admits he was flattered to hear Steve Bruce say he'd like to keep him beyond his season.
Steve, as a manager, has been fantastic to me, and I couldn't have hoped for a better welcome coming here. And yeah, it's been flattering. And I mean, it's, as everyone knows, it's tough at Arsenal with the players that they're signing now, and the competition for places there is always going to be tough for me to break through. So maybe it's something to think about in the summer, but for now I'm just sort of keeping my options open and working hard while I'm here.
Hull FC coach Lee Radford is looking to cut around 15 players from his current squad in time for the start of the new Super League season. The Black and Whites have a team of 35 training with them at present, including trialist Lee Smith.
We'll go for about 21 players, I think. We want to try and guarantee some game time, obviously, to one or two individuals, and to do that, we don't want to take away the intensity of the game either by making changes that we don't have to.
And Hull KR captain Terry Campese has picked out one of the club's youngsters to have an outstanding season. He signed out Matty Marsh, who made his breakthrough last year, as one of the ones to watch in 2016.
There's a few, obviously. Ian Thornley's a great player. He's been at Wigan and also Salford. Thomas Minns is a young kid that I think you've got to watch out for. But the guy who impressed me last year, towards the end of the year, was the guy that filled in for myself, young Matty Marsh. I think he will have a outstanding year and hopefully be pushing myself and Albie each and every game to steal that spot. And
that's all from the sport.
That's it for tonight. If you have a news story, then please visit our Facebook or Twitter pages, or email news@estuary.tv, or phone Grimsby 01472 31553. Until tomorrow, good evening.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Friday will be windy with outbreaks of rain, heavy at times but lighter and more patchy by late morning. Maximum temperatures of 11 degrees. On Saturday it'll be dry and windy with some sunny spells.